Hi, my name is Mother Beverly Johnson, and I want to share with you my Getting It Right testimony.
A message of an overcomer. Every mother and grandmother has a story. Mother Beverly lost her mother when she was only a teen and then would later lose mates that she dated, leaving her with 4 children that she would raise on her own. She also wants you to know the hardship, but how you can overcome, even overcome abuse in relationships. She is unashamed to share with you. Don't give up and don't give back out what you received.
And I have to give God the glory. I got out of it, but I still had a journey to go. To start off, I want to go back some, like 19 in the middle part of the 70s. I had been about maybe 14, 13, or something like that. And I kept having these visions about my mom passing. By the third dream, I knew it meant something. And I shared it with my mom. It didn't happen until 3 years later. I had just came out of high school, and in August the 7th of 1977, she passed. That was the beginning of my first storm. Had no idea how I was going to get through it. I had lost my best friend, my world. I had never been through anything before. But one good thing about through the whole thing, my mom was a believer of God. She loved him, and she showed it. And my grandmother was a pastor at the time, and she helped bring me up too. And that was the biggest thing they could have ever given me, because that's what got me through everything that I'm about to share with you guys. I had lost my mom, didn't know which way to turn, and I had a child out of wedlock, and he was just 1 year old, and then I had 2 younger brothers that I had to finish raising. Didn't have no idea how I was going to do all this. And I was just lost. And I knew the Lord, but I was just lost, hadn't had no training on how to handle pressure. But one thing I did know to do was to pray. I gotten better, at least I thought I had gotten better, felt stronger. And later on, as the years went past, I happened to meet my 2 youngest sons' father. I had had my second son by then, having children out of wedlock. You meet a young man, and you get persuaded by him, and you've been taught, know the rules, the do's and the don'ts, but yet you allow lust to withdraw you in, and you end up doing some things that you shouldn't have done. And not only does it cost you, it costs your children. So I'll tell anyone, I don't care how long you've been dating a person, how you feel about them, you got to put your most of your stronger feelings into God. When you want to be in love with somebody, be in love with him. Because if you fall in love with a person, and he have not told you this is the one for you, you're going to suffer. And that's due to because of disobedience. I had the 2 children, and me and him had broke up. And I ended up meeting my second 2 kids' father. Still hadn't learned anything about lust. Hadn't learned my lesson yet. And got serious with him. I got pregnant with my third son. A year later after that, I had my fourth son. I stayed in this relationship for quite some time. It wasn't a good relationship. There was abuse. There was disrespect. And man, now I don't just have 2 children, I got 4. But due to walking away from God's will, which I knew, because I had a loving, God-fearing mother, but I steered away from what I knew, and I had to pay. He was controlling, and he was abusive, and I began to pray. Not just about the situation, but for myself, for strength. Because I was never the type of person that allowed people to control me. But for some reason in this relationship, I kind of allowed my self-esteem to fall down, because I'd already had 2 kids out of marriage. Now here I am with not just 2, I got 4. And I didn't want to be dipping in and out of relationships, having kids by somebody, then dipping in and out of a relationship, having kids by that person. I tried to make the relationship work because of my children. Due to this person not being a saved person, and they did not believe in God at all. They were atheists. They did not believe. Water and oil, all it's going to ever do is separate itself from one another. One going one way and the other one going the other. No matter how much love, no matter how many years, all it's going to manage to do is separate itself. And when I had had enough, I left. What destroys a person in abuse is when you try to stay in it thinking that you can fix somebody. You can't even fix yourself. We need God. And if you're going to have a fear for something, you have a fear, respect for God, not man. Because he is the one that gave you your life. And he is the one that has the right to take it. Not no person down here. And I have to give God the glory. I got out of it. But I still had a journey to go. Due to the abuse, verbally and physically, it had affected me some. It really did. And I even found myself at times being a little abusive with the opposite sex. Talking to them any kind of way. There been times I put my hands on them. Not proud of it. So I got into another relationship later on down the line. Some years went past. We had a nice relationship, and I was going to commit to marrying him. But unforeseen, God came and got him because he belonged to him first anyway. I stayed to myself for some years, and around about 1999, I had became a grandmother. For a while, that fulfilled me and God and my grandchildren. It brought happiness to me. In about 2006, I met a young man that had some issues that I didn't know about. There was dark issues I didn't know anything about at the time. And he hadn't been set free from a relationship either. He was still connected on to it. Even though he was legally married, he was legally separated too. And that's the only reason why I actually talked to him, but it still didn't make it right because he wasn't divorced. He promised to leave. He promised that he was going to get the divorce. He even had gotten the papers. He even got a lawyer, but he never followed through. And I share this with you guys to tell you that when you meet somebody, I don't care how they look, what they have going on, how much money they have to offer, and they can be doing everything in the right way. They can even be in the church. If they're still connected on to somebody, do not, because it's going to cost you more than you're going to be willing to want to pay. Now, all these episodes that I went through, it hurted. Even with this last relationship that I had to let him go. And I was actually in love with him, but it wasn't right. After I let him go, about 3 years later, he died. But through God, I made it through. And it made me a better person, a more wiser, a humbler. I appreciate the smallest of things. I thank God for everything I went through. And I would like to give the women in the world, regardless of whether your race, regardless of your color, wherever you're from, what you have experienced and what you haven't experienced. First of all, every woman wants to be loved. They want to have a family. They want to get, in most cases, want to be married. But there's guidelines. If you follow every guideline that he tell you, it will happen. You will be happy. You have to follow every law that God made. He made them for a purpose. And it's to help us. It's to help us to live right. And it prevents a lot of things that you go through. Not saying your life going to be free of circumstances, because that's life. But one thing for sure, if you trust God, no matter what's going on, you will get through. And that's a true saying, what does not kill you make you strong. If you allow it, it does. The purpose of forgiving is for you. When you truly forgive somebody, you don't say, but they, no, but only, you forgive them. That sets you free. To not to forgive is like staying in a graveyard. Whatever happened was in the past. I don't care what it was. It was in the past. You leave it alone. You can't even walk into your future right until you let go of that past. And how you let go is by forgiving. If you have to go on a fast and pray, fast and pray. That's what you do, whatever's going to take for you to forgive, because it's for you.
This Christian project was produced by Transformation Studios by Rachel Ray.